What is up, my Shadowverse soldiers, and welcome back to another Shadowverse Evolved video. Alright soldiers, in this video we're going to be going over the set 11 Dragonraft reveals. I'm very excited to see what Dragonraft has in store. Now I will say, as a Ruin enjoyer, Dragonraft isn't my favorite class, but I do like what Dragonraft does represent in the game, just because it does bring a lot of people into the game, because a lot of people do love dragons. And I think this is, like, between Abyss and Dragon, I do believe those are like the top two most popular classes, honestly. Now, if you do disagree with that, let me know, because I love the color of diversity of all the flavors of soldiers we have in this army and whatnot. So I'm very excited to see what's going to be coming for Dragoncraft, and I'm hoping everyone will be excited for these cards when they come out. Alright, without further ado, we have Reggie Peerless Artisans, who she's a 3-cost 2/2. You can evolve for 1, and if Overflow is active for you, this follower has Storm, but when she comes into play, you can select a Wasteland follower that costs 2 or less in your cemetery and summon it. Alright, so it looks like we get a small follower if we have Overflow. Mind you, if we have Overflow, we have 4 extra play points to play around with. And then on top of that, we get the 2-for-1 special here by being able to get a Storm follower on the field, and then getting a Wasteland follower that costs 2 or less into the field. Alright, and looking at her Evo, so she turns into a 3/3, and she still has that same ability. If Overflow is active for you, she has Storm. But on Evolve, you give each other Wasteland follower on your field +1 attack. Alright, so keep in mind, soldier, that when we do have the total of 7 play points for Overflow, we're going to have 4 extra play points to play around with. And then, of course, we get the extra follower and they have their activate abilities to potentially gain Storm. And then when we evolve the Reggie, giving them that extra attack will matter in some situations. But moreover, I'm very excited to see what the other of these Wasteland followers are going to look like, so we can swing for a lot in one turn, potentially. Alright, next up we have Resplendent Phoenix, so it's a 3-cost 3/3, it has Ward, and when it comes into play, you can spend 2 play points. If Overflow is active for you, you can shuffle your deck and then put the top card of your deck into your EX area. For the rest of this turn, it costs 0 play points to play, and then she has a last words to give your leader +2 defense when she dies. Alright, so for a total of 5 play points, you can shuffle your deck, look at any card on the top of your deck, and then it is free this turn. Now, for Overflow, that is insane, just because you can keep doing with the rest of your plays. That's only 5 of your 7 play points, so you can play around with the extra 2. But being able to get any card off the top, and mind you, when we're playing Dragon, there are boss monsters, so playing a boss monster for free is going to be absolutely insane. And then on top of that, you get a boss monster for free, and you get a ward follower that, when they swing into her, as long as she's not banished, you can heal yourself for 2. Alrighty, next up we have Georgius, so he's a 4-cost 4/4. You can evolve him for 2, but when he comes into play, you can select an enemy follower on the field, and if Overflow is active for you, can deal 2 damage to it and its leader. Alright, so lots of ramp things, because we need Overflow active for us for Dragoncraft to really do what he needs to do. So being able to ping the enemy leader for 2 is very good for 4 play points, and mind you, with that Overflow active, we have those 3 extra play points, so we can go ahead and evolve this follower too. And then looking at the Evo, so he turns into a 5/5, and on Evolve, you destroy each enemy follower with 3 defense or less on the field. Alright, so essentially this card turns into a board wipe, so if you have Overflow and then you manage to do 2 damage to a 5 defense follower, it's going to have 3 defense or less. And then he turns into a massive board wipe, so of course, our opponent's going to have 1 big card and they have extra play points, or if they're going to keep playing cards, the cards aren't going to get any bigger, they're probably going to get smaller. So having those followers with 3 defense or less and then all being destroyed on the same turn is very helpful. Alrighty, next up we have Balefire Wrenchsmith, so he's a 2-cost 2/1, and during your turn when another Wasteland card is put onto your field, you can select an enemy follower on the field and deal it 1 damage. When it comes into play, you can summon a Dutiful Steed token. Alright, so not a bad turn to play, honestly, just so we can match our opponent's freak in the early game. So of course, there are those followers that are 2/1 that they spend for 1, so being able to play this on turn 2, go ahead and take care of it because you have that Dutiful Steed token, which is a Wasteland card. And then you're able to ping it for 1 damage, and then you can engage in, or excuse me, bury Dutiful Steed token to make this Balefire Wrenchsmith a 3/2. And just to give you soldiers a reminder, the Dutiful Steed token is a 1-cost amulet that you can activate to bury this card, and you can select a follower on the field, and if it's a Wasteland follower, you can give it +1/+1. Alrighty, next up we have Dragon Devouring Dread, so it's a 9-cost 8/8. When it comes into play, select up to X enemy followers on the field and banish them. X equals the number of Dragoncraft cards that cost 7 or more in your cemetery. You can also activate for 3 play points to discard this card and another Dragoncraft card that costs 7 or more, and you can increase your maximum play points by 1 and then draw a card. Alright, so now we can make use of those boss monsters that we can't do anything in the early turns because we haven't ramped into those bigger things. So now, not only if we miss on our Dragon Oracle, we have another card where we can spend 3 play points to go ahead and get rid of this card, and one of our boss monsters in our hand that costs 7 or more to go ahead and increase our maximum play points, while also replacing that boss monster by drawing a card. And the cool thing I really do like about this card is that it does count itself in the cemetery when you do its activate ability. So when you go for the fanfare later on in the game, because of course, you know, you're going to want to run multiple copies of this card if you're running it. So it's going to at least banish 2 followers from the field just because you did the activate discard ability. Alright, next up we have Azure Flame Dragon Newt. So it's a 7 cost 6/6. You can evolve it for 1, but when it comes into play, you can select the enemy follow on the field and deal it 6 damage. You can also activate for 1 play point to discard this card and another Dragonraft card that costs at least 7. And you can select the enemy follow on the field and deal it 4 damage. It's the fact that we're seeing ramp and discard dragon stuff. So when we run into these boss monsters in the early turn, there's nothing we can do with these things. So being able to go ahead and use this activate for 1 play point to discard a card to keep ourselves alive while we're trying to ramp up into our overflow is very good. And then on top of that, when we do get to the boss monster, a card like this, just being able to select enemy follow on field and dealing it 6 damage while having a 6/6 that can evolve is very good. Alright, so looking at the Dragon Newt evolve, so it turns into a 7/7, but on evolve you select the enemy follow on field and deal it 6 damage. Alright, so it isn't hard removal, but it's managing to make things weaker. So if they manage to play a big boss monster that you're not able to like remove in one go, we do have this evolved follower that has rush to swing for the rest of the 7 if we want to stay alive, or keep it reserved so we can swing for some 7 damage on the next turn. Alrighty, next up we have Dragonfolk Artificer. So it's a 2 cost 2/3, and when it comes into play fanfare, you look at the top 3 cards of your deck. From among them, you may reveal a Wasteland card and add it to your hand, and you put the remaining cards on the bottom of your deck in any order. Alright, so it looks like this is going to be one of the cards we're going to be playing from the cemetery for Reggie. So this card having a fanfare by looking at top 3, adding any Wasteland card that we need is pretty good in terms of like plussing in value. Alrighty, next up we have Dragonic Hall. So it's a 2 cost quick spell. So you can look at the top 5 cards of your deck. From among them, you may reveal up to 2 Dragonraft cards that cost 7 or more and add them to your hand. You put the remaining cards on the bottom of your deck in any order. Okay, so this card's pretty good. Like, this is literally a draw 2 on your opponent's turn. And like, I know Dragon is excited to see a card like this because I know in the late game, the hardest thing to do is to start top decking. Well, gone are the days if you keep this card and you're in that overflow state. Looking at the top 5 to get 2 boss monsters that you're probably going to decide between playing that next turn on your opponent's turn is just super good. I'm not gonna lie to you, soldiers. Like, this is value. I think this has got to be the GOAT dragon card, because like the one thing that the deck, or at least just Dragonraft, doesn't have too much is like a bunch of draw and a bunch of ways to like get the boss monsters that you might potentially want. There's that restriction, of course, of having the 7 or more, so you can't get anything. But come on, you're looking at the top 5 through your Dragonraft, by the way, of a cost that's 7 or more. That's not like unlikely you're not going to at least hit 1. Alrighty, next up we have Mermaid Guide. So it's just a 4 cost 4/4. You can evolve it for 1, and while you have at least 5 marine cards in your cemetery, this follower has Storm. And look at that, Marine seems to get another bit of support from set to set. And I will always say, if they keep printing support of it, it will eventually be good. And then getting a 4 cost 4/4 with Storm, and of course, between turns 1 and 3, the Marine cards that we do play, like, they're not going to be that cool. We're going to be spawning Mega Lorca tokens that might have Storm, whatnot. To be honest, I don't know 100% what the Marine deck does, because I have not looked at it in quite some time. I might actually do a review of it. Hey, we got a Storm card. But at the same time, like, you know, if they keep printing support for, like, this class or this archetype, it's eventually going to be good. Alright, so looking at the Mermaid Evo, so she turns into a 5/5, and she still has that ability as long as we have those 5 Marine cards in Cemetery, she has Storm. But on Evolve, you can discard a Marine card and then draw 2 cards. So mind you, the Storm is a static effect, so if you manage to evolve this follower and then you have the 5 cards in your Cemetery, then she has Storm and you can swing for 5. And what I really do like about this card, outside of its beautiful art, is that it really just goes with the engine. I absolutely love tribal decks, so me not looking at Marine actually is a sin, because the Marine deck is pretty tribal. It doesn't really run anything outside of the Marine cards and the Melkalorca like spawn things. But on the Evolve, you have to make sure you discard a Marine card, which is really what's going to help with the engine to give this follower Storm. Alright, next up we have Wormfire Engineer, so it's a 1 cost 2/2, and it has the last words to summon a Bullet Bite token. Alright, so we have another target for Reggie, but I don't think we're honestly going to be looking to play this Wormfire Engineer. But having a 1 cost goblin in the early game, which will get you another sort of like resource when this card is removed, because nobody wants to take 2 damage every turn unless they have to. Like, there are some situations where they just have to keep taking the 2 damage. But having this 1 cost goblin will apply some pressure. Our opponent does have to answer it unless they want to keep taking 2, and then we will get a Bullet Bite token onto the field. And just to give you soldiers a reminder, a bullet bite token is the 1-cost amulet that you can activate to bury this card to select a follower on the field and give it rush, and if it's a wasteland follower, it gets +1 attack. Alright, next up we have Pumpkin Dragon, so it's an 8-cost 6/6, it has ward, and when it comes into play you give your leader +5 defense, and then you draw 2 cards. You can also activate for 2 play points to discard this card and another Dragonraft card that costs 7 or more to give your leader +5 defense. Alright, so this card is just some straight value, so not only do you have a 6/6 ward, but you're able to heal for 5 while drawing 2 cards. And then, of course, you have that secondary ability by using 2 play points to go ahead and getting rid of this card, and another Dragonraft card that costs 7 or more to heal your leader for 5. Alright, next up we have Wavecrest Angler, so it's a 2-cost 2/3. When it comes into play, you look at the top 3 cards of your deck, and you may put a marine card from one of them into your EX area. Put the remaining cards on the bottom of your deck in any order. Alright, soldiers, so like I said, they keep printing marine cards, it'll eventually get good. So now on turn 2, we have a top 3 searcher, which will get out the marine cards, which, you know, of course, our marine deck is going to be filled with marine cards because we are a super tribal deck when it comes to that deck. So looking at the top 3 to get any marine card that we might need is going to be very helpful. Alrighty, and lastly but not least, we have Thunderous Roar, so it's a 2-cost quick spell. So when playing this card, you may discard a Dragonraft card that costs 7 or more as an additional cost. You can select the enemy follower on the field and deal it 3 damage, and if you pay the additional cost, you can deal 4 damage instead and draw a card. So some pretty nice stuff with Ramp Dragon here. So of course, we're going to probably be including a lot of more Dragonraft cards, so they're going to be costing 7 or more, which kind of does hurt in some aspects because there's not going to be every game where we're going to be ramping. So we're going to definitely need to be throwing in those ramp cards, of course, and in those bigger followers, so our deck might get a little bit clunky, but there's of course going to be a good build out there that'll really help. But the good thing about having those big cost followers is that we do have these smaller cost followers that are going to be like, hey, if you pay this additional cost by getting rid of a card, you're able to go ahead and replace that card you did get rid of while getting these extra effects. Alrighty, and here are our alt art cards for the Dragonraft set. So we have the Dark Dragoon Forte, which looks absolutely amazing. And then we have the Resplendent Phoenix card as well. So I hope any of you that are going to be looking forward to pulling this card, or at least picking up, are able to obtain it so you can play it in your decks, or just look at it if it's super pretty. And alrighty, soldiers, that is it for today's video. So there's going to be 2 videos coming out tomorrow because we need to do forest and neutrals before the set comes out. I did my math wrong, and I thought if I started early, like, you know, in the middle of the week while recording on Saturday, I should have recorded on Sunday, and I'm sorry, I just took a day off. I apologize. But of course, we're going to have 2 videos coming out, that being Forestcraft and Neutrals, so we can go ahead and finish out the set before the set actually comes out on Friday, which I hope everyone is going to pick up everything that they need for their decks. And then maybe on Friday, if the video is done, or if I'm done with the details, we'll have our Leonidas Logs episode. If you're like new to the channel, I hope you do tune into that because that's everything that's been going on with Shadowverse Evolve. I'm actually going to have 2 guests with me this time. It's not going to be discussing everything that's going to be happening by myself. Now I'm going to actually have a conversation with some people, so that's going to be very fun. But alright, soldiers, that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. It means a lot to me that you're watching these videos. Make sure you are safe in whatever you do tonight, and safe whatever you do for the rest of the year. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.
Yeah, TRINN. Just to get you away. What I got to do, what I got to do. Just to get you away. What I got to do, what I got to do. Just to get you away. You pull me too close, now we hesitate. Every single move you make, it makes me feel